What's more fun than going to the Emirates Stadium and seeing Arsenal win 5-0? Seeing them do it when your favorite player scores a hat trick. This is the ArsenalVision Post-Match Podcast. My name is Elliot Smith, Black Man Twitter Ink Gunner. Hello, everybody. Voice is a little rough, although honestly, it's mostly just because I didn't sleep very well last night, but also, the singing at the Emirates, and then there was some singing at the pub, and just a generally good time had by all, as is always the case when I get to come over here. Feel very fortunate to do so and saw so many great people. So if I did get a chance to bump into you and say hi, thanks for saying hello. If I didn't, then you're welcome for me not ruining your weekend. But also, just one of these things where lately I've had very good fortune with the results of the games that I come over for, but people are accusing me of being a coward with the games that I pick. So maybe I need to step up my game next time and pick a bigger game and see if the same kind of luck can continue. But I don't think it's luck. I think it's just that we're quite good, and we did beat the living snot out of Sheffield United 5-0 the other day. Fun game to discuss, and here to do it with me now is Clive. You can find him on Twitter at ClivePFC. Hello, Clive.
Hello.
Lovely to see you yesterday.
Yeah, it was good fun. It was a real day of people. It was a people day, wasn't it? And the football was fairly easy. But yeah, it's a reminder of why we all go to football, right? It's not just a team, it's the people that we share the whole experience with, and met some really nice people. I want to say there's one guy that I met yesterday. His name's Max. I just want to give him a shout out. He was very supportive of the podcast, which is great, which is normal, but he was really supportive of the work that patrons have helped us with and all the people that listen have helped us with around supporting the refugee work with the Arsenal Foundation. And he mentioned that, and the words will stay between me and you, Max, but it was a reminder to me of why we do all this. It's for other people to share the experience with, and it really made my day meeting him. So great.
Yeah, a great day with a lot of things like that. So funny thing, Andrew was over, Arsblog, and we were talking last night, and we realized this is true. We've been to 3 games together, ever. 3 games. Arsenal have won every one of them 5-0. So, I mean, if the club wants to invest in having us come to all the games, I wouldn't say no to it. But we did win 5-0, and I want to cut to the chase and start discussing that. We did an interesting instant reaction recorded at the ground that we put up in stages, so I hope for people who got that last night, you enjoyed it. But obviously a great day for Eddie Nketiah, a hat trick for Eddie Nketiah, and a day when it's job done, right? I mean, when the bad teams come to your place, you want to smack them. You want to give them no hope. You want to give them nothing to chase and nothing to play for. And that's exactly what we did in the past. I do think that these have been games. Obviously, we haven't always done that. Bournemouth at home last season ended in a positive way. Southampton did not. Obviously, the Fulham game earlier this season. But this game yesterday was exactly how you want to approach these things. And I want to start with the lineup. I think it's been a while since we've had such an interesting one to discuss. You want to be able to rotate in games like this, but I think given what I'd say is a little bit of uneven form this season, there may have been a little more anxiety around the rotation. I know when we were out in the pub, people were saying, that's a lot of change. Are we taking them lightly? A change in each line, right? So Kivior came in at the back line. Emile Smith Rowe came in midfield. And then obviously Havertz. Well, Havertz was also in midfield. I guess that's a change. And then obviously Nketiah up front with Martinelli and Saka. So a lot of change. How did you feel when you saw that in terms of your comfort, but also in terms of realizing just how deep a squad we can actually call upon?
Well, the squad feels deeper after a 5-0 win when you make those changes. And this is why the League Cup game at Brentford and the League Cup game got coming up against West Ham are just really important, right? So really important. So for me, there's a few signposts there. So Kivior coming in, that was really to take the load off of Gabriel, who played twice for Brazil in the international break, played full 90 minutes. And then basically, so looking after his legs, smart. Also, we're going to have a lot of the ball, and Kivior's quite a technical defender, so that makes a lot of sense. His passing is like a laser, mate. His passing is a bit like Granit Xhaka, actually, the way he thumps that ball between the lines. So fair play to him. Obviously, Zinchenko rested in the week, so he was fresher, to come into the game. And playing, playing Havertz on the right and Smith Rowe on the left, so inverted eights, if you see what I mean. That makes a lot of sense, balance-wise. A lot of people have called for that. So we get a chance to see it. They weren't super tested, but they're able to get on the ball, don't get their ankles kicked off, and turn around on their strong foot. So that made a lot of sense. So the whole thing was fine to me, keeping your wide men to the extremities like we normally do, and Eddie doing his work between the centre-backs. So The balance was very simple. Declan Rice at the base. It makes a lot of sense, and it's good that we can start to rely on the players behind the players, because that's where the season's going to be won and lost. We know that now, don't we?
Yeah, we do. And it's interesting because there are load-bearing walls in any team, right? Like there are in any building. There are, in fact, no load-bearing walls in a team. Teams are made up of human beings, not walls at all. But there are load-bearing beams in buildings, and there are load-bearing beams in lineups. And I think the selection also tells you about who those beams are, right? William Saliba, Declan Rice, Bukayo Saka, for example. Those are players that if they're in the lineup, you feel pretty sure that you're in a good place, that you're going to be all right. And that's really how it felt to me when I saw the lineup, is with those players in it, I felt pretty confident. I want to touch on William Saliba just quickly. We were both purring about him at the end of the game, and people were around the stadium. In the early phases of the game, I wouldn't say that we were scintillating. There was a little bit more going around the houses. There was a little bit more being pushed out wide. We were sort of trying to figure out how to break down a very compressed Sheffield United team, right? We were talking about there wasn't a lot of distance between our defensive line and our attacking line, just a very compressed game. But the player that I think sets the tone is William Saliba. The few times they try to go long, they can't get any joy off him. He chases down the ball. He wins the first ball. He was the guy that would play the vertical passes to start opening them up. And I think, especially just at the ground, when you see the ball go over the top and there's a little bit of distance and you think, is that Sheffield United player going to get onto it? And then Saliba just turns on the jets and there's no hope. I think he is a player who sets a tone in a game like this, because he kills that feeling that there's something there for the opposition, which is what you need so that you can then go on and really thump them,
I think the word you're searching for is aura. He has an aura to him.
Yeah.
When he goes around the ball. None of us worry. We're just excited to see what he's going to do next. He's going to turn out. He's going to do whatever he wants. He's just got all the tricks. And a lot of it, you often hear me talk about preparation. His reading of the game. So his preparation before, as that ball's being struck, he's just so good. He's already 2 yards ahead. If you see him stretched, I mean, he's made a mistake somewhere in his reading of the game. But if he does need to be stretched, he can do it, right? So, he was supreme. When he did that at 50%, it looked like he literally jogged through the game. And it was a really distinct shape we had yesterday. It was very much a 3-2. And he is the central centre back. And so often when we're winning a game quite easy, your mind wanders, right? So, and you wonder to who else can do that for us? The central centre back, not just standing there defending, but be our literally playmaker from the back of the pitch. And it's an interesting one because he's so good. I started to think, who could do that if he wasn't there? I don't think he's White, because just to the way he plays, his energy and his go forwarders, he can do it. I think Kiwi will be an interesting option to be the central centre back, just because of his playmaking abilities, on the ball and the way he moves it. I think profile wise, he could be the closest that we have. But interesting thought, just me thinking ahead really. But yeah, Saliba, 120 odd passes he did yesterday. And you could tell that he was running the show. The way the game state went, he was running the game, and absolutely superb.
Yeah, I mean, it is the rare combination of physical tools, right? Size, pace, just the strength that he shows, and then the technical skills. 134 touches, as you referenced, 123 passes of 128 completed. That's 96.1%.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and not just going back to his keeper, right, or going over to Kiwior. 108 carries in the game, 6 progressive passes. He's a Rolls Royce, and it's funny that everybody has a different way of describing a player, but everybody has the same way of describing him. You just hear Rolls Royce over and over and over again, and I think it sums him up because he is elite. Now, not everything was, I think, sunny, happy days early in the game. There was a little grousing that we were just a little bit slow, a little bit lacking in directness. We saw something, I think, for the first half hour, maybe even the first half, if we're being honest, that has been a bit of an issue this season, which is that willingness to let the game just get shunted out wide, to go out to the wide spaces and then have Bukayo or Martinelli somewhat isolated, trying to take on 2 men, and then the ball going back out to the middle. And I just want to analyze that period quickly because it winds up being obviously a very fun day and not a lot to criticize, but I think that is an interesting period of the game. And I'm wondering why you think that's about? Is it about, not being in a hurry to win the game, so to speak, to, just control it first and then ultimately win it? Or is there really a challenge that we're facing in terms of finding those vertical passes into central spaces? Because it does seem that teams are getting more compact, like Sheffield United did, and we have been a bit too content, I think, to just go around the outside.
Yeah, let's just make this a bit more of a general point, because I did have a quick watch of the game this morning, just like a half-hour section, and to see what we're doing and to see if we notice how we're playing. I can definitely see Declan Rice playing a bit more central passes into Havertz's feet. He's really trying to whip it around the corner. I also think to go out wide is not the worst thing in the world. You need to keep doing it, because what happens is they have to shuffle over to double up to stop our wingers, right? Keep doing those doggies out to the outside. What will happen is you'll create the yard separation you need on the inside, then turn around and progress the ball. So you almost need to jab them first, jab them gently on the outside to pull them apart. And if you look at the highlights, look at the goals in the second half, look how far off they were off of us. They were so not tight. And the reason why they're not tight, because they were tired. They were tired going from side to side. And it's difficult for us to watch, because we just want to see a goal, want to see excitement, want to see collisions, want to see clashes. But in some ways, I'm watching Arteta and I'm watching him. I'm very lucky where I sit, Elliot. I can see him, and every time we forced it forward, he was fuming. He turned away, turned around. He's not having that. He wanted us to be even more patient. So when Saliba dinks from over the top and it rolls out for a goal kick, I think he did about once, to be fair, rolls out for a goal kick, he's not happy with that. He's literally turning away. He wants us to circulate, move it, jab them, until we get what we ended up with the end of the game, which was 5 goals from a team that was tired, that decided to sit further in, and then naturally compress closer to their goal, which means we can create 1-2s momentum. So I'm trying to mature my thinking, Elliot, to be honest. It's a different way. Teams are defending differently. They're defending with a front two sometimes to stop us going to central areas. Sometimes it's 3+3, really tight, saying to you, they're the areas that we want you to go to the outside, because we trust our ability to travel. The difference between Chelsea and the Emirates against Sheffield United, when we went to the outside against Chelsea, the ball was travelling slow and the pitch is a little bit tighter. It looks that way to me. And they could get out to us. They had good athletes. They'd get out to us and keep us at bay for longer. And so the options go over was obvious to me. But I get the Emirates on a sunny Saturday, mate, that ball moves and you have to do your work. And we broke them physically in the end and ran away clear winners.
Yeah. Yeah. And we also did some interesting things in terms of where players played. I wanted to ask you just about some stuff that we saw that included Bukayo Saka playing a decent chunk of the game. Not a huge chunk, but a chunk at left 8. Kai Havertz moved out to the right wing, and Saka came in field and played over on the Martinelli side for a bit. There was some swapping around. I thought that was interesting. I mean, do you think that there was sort of an instruction there? You think it's something that Mikel wanted to look at in a game that was maybe a little lower stakes, get a chance to see if that helps get them combining or open things up? Or you think it just happened to be in the moment Bukayo went there and decided to hang out there for a bit?
I don't mind. I honestly, if we with positional play, as long as someone else fills in, doesn't really matter, does it? You should have the freedom to rotate and go where you like. And as teams watch us and get to know what our super strengths are, the fact we have players that can play on the outside and inside, and we don't worry. So you look at that front five. All of them have spent time on the outside in their careers, and all of them can play on the inside. So why not? I mean, even Eddie's had time on the left wing, so he knows what it's like on the exterior. We know Smith Rowe does. We know Havertz does. And we know Saka can, right? So yeah, absolutely. Why not rotate the moves and create different pictures for people, create different problems? And I think I'm all for that, because this evolution of this team is something. I know I keep saying about trying to get rid of last year in our minds. The reason why, because we have to. Because if we did what we did last year, it's not going to be enough. We have to find new ways to skin the cat, and we are. And I think it's really, really good what we're doing at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's nice to have the ability to try variations on a theme. I mean, the thing about this, Clive,
That's right.
before we get into the Eddie Nketiah goals and before we get into some of the really just fun things that happen in the game, there has been this debate over control. I think are we now too much about control and not enough about intent to score? But I think I have never seen an Arsenal that is this dominant in terms of denying the opposition any sense that they could be in the game. I've seen Arsenal teams that are more swashbuckling, that are more fun, that cut teams open, but I've seen those teams give something away at the other end. And being there at the ground, and I think just seeing how little territory Sheffield United had, what I've started to realize, I think, is that all of that control and possession and territorial dominance has to take an immense physical and mental concentration toll on the opposition. And maybe that's why we're scoring less early, but more as the game wears on, because watching Sheffield United try to shift and shuffle and stay compact and keep their lines compressed and not get out of shape, doing that for 90 minutes is hard. This game ends 3.0 to 0.0 on XG. They had two shots. Neither with an XG that got to that first decimal place. So FBref only goes to one decimal place. So 3-0 XG, you'll take that all day. They had two shots. After the 21st minute, they did not have another shot in the game from anywhere. And one of the shots was from 55 yards out. So, like, I didn't know why it was even registered as a shot. So do you think there's something to that this control we're having on games has sort of like almost an erosion effect, right? A slow cobra-like effect of just strangling the energy and the focus and the concentration out of the opposition. And so maybe it doesn't reap the rewards early in the match, but it does as the match wears on.
Yeah, I think I saw an article from Scott this week talking about how we're not scoring in the first 50 minutes as much, and
Yeah.
I think that's fine. Again, we're thinking back to last year, right? So, and that Liverpool game, we came out the blocks like a million miles an hour and scored. I mean, it's so exhilarating. You don't forget those moments. But again, I also remember the Villa game when they were punching into our sides and scoring down our sides and getting the ball out and putting us under real pressure. Right? And those games are not so regular right now. So, hey, look, we're trying to win this thing. And to win this thing, you need to take away risk. You need to de-risk your team and find a way to control. I felt the Sheffield United game was not really a game to focus too much on control because it wasn't really a contest. From a contest point of view, it wasn't one. It was a chance to see our players play and a chance to see our patterns play and a chance to see what lessons that we are learning. And because when it came to any sort of physical duel or a running race, we just ran back and took it off them, you know. And so as a contest, it wasn't superb. So then it's all about individuals doing their work properly and having good first touches and good control and winning their duels to create that. I call it create that chain reaction in our flow. So the ball's now flowing, unlike Chelsea. The ball's moving across the grass. It's flowing. When you chop somebody, the ball moves too quickly. You chop them, unbalance them. Now the next player needs to show himself, and then you got some flow going. You got a move going, and we got better and better and better at that until the point where they just surrendered. So I like what we're doing, and I'm a pragmatist. I don't like to see people near our goal. I just don't like it. Right. So
Yeah.
and so I would focus on. I'm always looking at the base of our team and how we hit them in midfield because I know we've got the talent up front to score, but I want to make sure that people do not run through our midfield. And this is so different to Chelsea. Chelsea are a better side, but we had no one running for us yesterday, sorry, and it was nice to watch.
Got to watch Chelsea lose from the Tollington yesterday. That was fun.
They got a lot of flowers, right, for a 2-2 draw at home. A lot of flowers for that. And I wasn't having that at all. I felt the conditions helped them. I thought he leveled it out. I thought they got a penalty, which is really lucky, and they got a toed miss-hit cross. Maximum reward for some running about. I was not having that performance. And so I'm glad we've redressed that balance with our good home performance.
Yeah, it's interesting. Not to go back to the Chelsea game too much, but the thing that's really been a problem for them all season is scoring goals. And against us, they really got gifted too, right? A soft penalty and a mishit cross. I mean, without that, we know what the outcome would be. By the way, speaking of Sheffield United, I mean, they are dreadful. And you look down at the bottom and you got teams like, Luton now look like a team that could stay up, could very well stay up. And not because they're excellent, but because I think Everton are getting a 12-point deduction. Is that right? So, like,
it's in the offing. It's not done yet, I don't believe. But that's going to be have a size. If it does happen, that's going to be seismic. I mean, Everton are obviously, we know what they are. They're one of the original Big Five, and they've got a ground being built. There's a lot of money invested in that club. It makes you wonder what the future could look like. So yeah, but Sheffield looked really poor, man. I've rarely felt this relaxed watching a game of football ever. They were that bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll be curious to see when like the Burnleys and Lutons of the world come to the Emirates to see how that compares in terms of the game. But just a really professional performance, and the kind of performance that if you know what it felt like. I hate to say this because it's so reductive, but it felt like what City games look like when they play these terrible teams at the Etihad. You know what I mean? Where like from minute one, you're like, they have no chance. They have no chance. Why am I watching this game? You know, they're not giving anything away. Credit to the away fans. They tried to sing a bit, but like there wasn't a lot of life in them. A bit, but
Yeah.
not a ton because we weren't giving anything away. And so I guess we've gone 20 minutes without getting into Eddie Nketiah. So let's just do it. You know, I everybody approaches football and football analysis and watching football in a different way. Right, Clive? Like you have a very unique ability to look at football and express what you see on the pitch in a way that really people connect to, but everybody connects to the game differently. And there are qualities in players that like I enjoy and I rate more highly, and others that maybe I don't value enough. But I think what yesterday made me realize a bit is for all that I want players who can do like what Gabriel Jesus did to set Martinelli away in Sevilla, don't underestimate the value of having someone who plays in the 9 position who can just stick the ball in the back of the net. And for whatever you think of Eddie Nketiah's shortcomings, and they exist, Eddie Nketiah, when he plays, has consistently had a pretty darn good return sticking the ball in the back of the net. And as easy as that game felt yesterday, I didn't feel like it was a foregone conclusion when it was at 0-0 that there was a goal coming. It required a moment of brilliant striker play. And Declan Rice fires that ball. And by the way, you know what? All it took, Clive, up the tempo a tiny bit. I know your
Yeah.
point that Mikel was losing his mind when we were doing certain things that were potentially risky, but it was one vertical pass, one ball played first time,
Yeah.
one ball fired into the box, tempo, 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 and then Eddie, that first touch is so clean, so smooth, a beautiful little swivel to get himself open in the box, and then the finish is easy. But I think there wasn't when that goal came, there wasn't a feeling in my mind that was like it's imminent, it's coming, we're tearing them apart. Tempo quickens a bit, and then he shows real quality center forward play. And from there he obviously gets 2 more, but that moment is why the game winds up being so easy.
Yeah, I thought it's quite interesting. I watched a little bit of that this morning, and funny enough, he got pushed out of the box by I think Austin Trusty, and again a player that I looked at last year playing for Birmingham looked really really good. Premier League levels a little bit different. Didn't look so good yesterday, and he got pushed out of the box. And in some ways, it allowed Eddie to come onto the ball. He pushed him out, so he allowed him to come onto the ball. But Eddie's first touch not only controls the ball, but takes Trusty out of it by pushing it across him, and he slots it. It's a really clean goal. Eddie's a player that I struggle with, and honesty is very important. I struggle with him on occasions, and when I struggle with a player, I have to ask myself, why am I struggling to see him? Why can't I see him? Let me bring some new inputs in. And then I think back to his role in the squad. And if I look at him with his role in the squad, he's really, really good. Do I want him playing every single week for Arsenal as our number 9? I would want somebody else. Fortunately, we have that somebody else. He's a bit injury prone at the moment, but we have that somebody else. So if you look at Eddie's role in the squad as one of our forward players that we can call on, he does a really good job for that role. So rather than try to wish cast him into our team, I look at the role and the role he provides, and then I have a bit more balance to my analysis. He's a challenging player because he came on in Seville this week, and honestly, mate, if you could have subbed a sub, he would have done it, right? So, because he was blowing, and it was just maybe the game, the pace of the game late on was hard for him to get up to. Then yesterday, he looked so smooth. He looked so athletic. He looked so quick. Everything was centre of the boot. That's like 4 days later. It's like, wow. Was it your position or was it just him feeling comfortable? I mean, it's not the finishes. The third goal was just incredible. It's just incredible. The power, the technique, the confidence. That's no joke. That is no joke. And if Ollie Watkins did it, or Isaac did it, or Callum Wilson did it, Rashford did it, we'd be going mad. But Eddie's done it. And so I have to take these inputs in a slightly different way. I mean, and just hope that he keeps doing it because we need him desperately, don't we? We need him desperately because let's be honest, our main centre forward has missed a lot of football matches. And so Eddie's dependence is only going to grow, right? So our dependence on him is really important. So yeah, it's a fair play to him. I don't read him easily. I don't read him well. He's one of the players that I struggle with, but you can't miss that. You'd be blind not to see his improvement and where he's ended up. Yeah, I just got a lot of respect for him.
3 very different goals showing very different kinds of qualities as a striker too. Like one is real, I think, in the box center forward play, the first one. There's just fox in the box, right? Being in the right spot at the right time, quickest to the ball. And then there's individual brilliance from outside of the box. I mean, it's quite the range he showed for those
Yeah.
goals.
And the last goal in particular, I mean, that surprised everybody. You know, I don't know where it was where you were sitting there, but I'm sitting right behind that one. And that ripped in. That was no fluke. That was whoosh, ripped in. And so yeah, I did not know he had that in his locker. In fact, I think that might be the furthest goal he's scored from distance wise ever. But I mean, so it's a surprise to everybody. But that was top class. There's no joke about that.
Yeah, and I mean it's interesting too because we have the Discord for patrons, and the Discord has a match day chat channel. And just to give you a sense of what the tone is like in there, there's also a calm match day chat channel because the match day chat channel is just nonstop head loss. So shout out to the Disco boys and girls. But I scroll back a little because during the game I was just sort of hopping in there, posting a few things, and right up until he scores his first goal, there was a lot of frustration with him, and I think it just reflects the things we want from that position. And I really have to remind myself, not every player can do it the same way. You have to evaluate the skills the player has, not the skills the player doesn't. There's players like Adama Traore. Adama Traore is the best dribbler in the world. A lot of good that does him, right? Because he can't pass the ball to a teammate or stick the ball in the back of the net. But I don't know that Eddie will ever appeal to me in terms of the aesthetics because of the way I like those technical players who can combine and, get in the midfield and set players away like Jesus does, or, beat a player so badly they fall over. I like that. But Eddie Nketiah sticks the ball in the net. And in a game where the opposition had no hope, but someone had to break the floodgates, he did it. So I like what you've said. He has a role that is important. We have a player whose role is starting striker for Arsenal, presumably. I think where the debate has come up, Clive, is there are people that I think would prefer that the next man up when Jesus is not available is Kai Havertz. And I certainly don't think Kai Havertz has done anything to warrant that position, right? I don't think it's like he's blown the doors off when he's played. He's had a couple of good center forward cameos for us, both of them, I think, against Manchester City in the league game and in the Community Shield. But if that's the debate, right? If the debate is when Jesus isn't there, should it be Havertz or should it be Nketiah? Like right now, it's not a debate.
Well, this morning
Eddie's just
it's not a
doing
debate.
what's required.
This morning it's not a debate, but it's almost like going into an art gallery, right? You see a painting, and if you look at it long enough, you see different things. Every game is different. It's the same thing. You're looking at a painting, every game is different. This game suited Eddie. I feel if we'd have played Havertz centre forward against Chelsea, we'd have won the game, because of the way that game played out, right? So, so a week later, we're thinking different things. The thing is, we have them both. And I think it is about roles, but it's also about embracing your role. It's about embracing your role on the day. And I think that's really key. I think Eddie embraces his role really well. And it's obvious his teammates respect him and they respect his effort he puts in off the pitch, etc. He's well liked, well loved, and people in the club can see his talent. That's why he's got his contract, right? And I often say with the Highlanders, I put him and Nelson and Smith Rowe together. He's at the front, mate. He's at the front. He's doing it. He's doing it. He's doing it to the best of his ability. He's at the front. He's played the most minutes, obviously, but he's at the front of that group at the moment, and he's producing. Havertz now, it's a to be confirmed, isn't it? To be confirmed. It's somebody that's trying to assimilate into the group. We move him around a little bit. We try to support him. We sit him. We play him. We play him left 8, right 8 now. He's played centre forward on occasions, and he's been okay in all of them. Not all of the time, but okay. You feel there's something bubbling there that you just want to see come out. So I have a frustration about that. But his talent is clear. His physique is unique to what to our group. And so they're both, I look at them both and say, look, they're here, they're ours. And now it's about how we use them and how they accept their role on any given day.
Yeah. Look, this is a tough game to analyze in some ways because you get this fun Eddie Nketiah hat trick, but outside of that, you just have a dreadful team that rocked up with no chance to do anything at the Emirates. We absolutely strangled the life out of the game, killed them dead, and it's like it almost feels like a non-event. You know what I mean? Because they had so little life in them and provided so little resistance. And there's a tendency to want to just say it's because we are excellent. I think that is true. I think there's a little bit of the other thing too, which is that they're no good. But so it makes it a hard game to analyze because you analyze a game that's a battle, right? You analyze a game that has ebb and flow, that has strengths and weaknesses, and like this was not a battle. This fight was over before it started. So I do want to get a little more into the Havertz and Emile Smith Rowe performances. I want to get your thoughts on like some of the players that got to play that we don't see as much. Mo Elneny actually got back on the pitch. Nice to see. Couple other moments that I want to break down. Let's do this though. Let's get the advertising. I was going to say out of the way, but of course, this is a value add to any listeners that are listening to this because you get to find out about great brands that are obviously going to be an influential part of your life. And one of those is NordVPN. By the way, have used NordVPN while I've been over here so that I could actually watch games and watch some of my streaming stuff that I used back in the States. So I was over here, click on the app, click on the United States, and boom, it's like you're browsing over there. NordVPN makes it easy because there's an app you can put on your computer, a PC or Mac or an iPad or an iPhone, an Android phone, not flip phones, but any other phone, you're going to actually have to have the internet on your phone for this to work. But what it does, it basically allows you to browse wherever you want to browse from. So if you need to be able to watch a game that's blacked out, or you need to be able to watch a video streaming site that doesn't work in the country you're in, you could do that. It does give you privacy, which is really important. Obviously, you don't want people tracking your browsing and what you're going to and what you're doing on the internet. There's threat protection as well. By the way, Nord is celebrating Movember, which is essentially just a moment to recognize men's health issues, particularly testicular and prostate cancer. And so there's donation opportunities available through Nord that you can do. So they want to let you know about that. And basically, I feel like what they've brought to the table is the strongest trial offer that they've ever had with us. So what you can do is you can go to nordvpn.com/ArsenalVision. That's nordvpn.com// what is slash? Slash is me trying to talk after a bit of a rough night. nordvpn.com/ArsenalVision. And what they're going to give you is 4 additional months for free. That's a lot. 4 bonus months. That's a lot. So 4 additional months for free. And you also get a 30-day money-back guarantee. So absolutely go ahead and check out nordvpn.com/ArsenalVision. And I think you'll find it is the best VPN you're going to use. Now, this podcast is also sponsored by BetterHelp. It's just this simple. For some people, therapy is not affordable. It's not accessible. It's not something you can get out and do. Maybe it's not easy to get to in your area, or you feel that there's a stigma around it. And so you just don't do it. I can promise you, anybody, no matter how healthy you feel or in need of support you feel, the therapy will be a positive experience for you. And BetterHelp makes therapy achievable by making it more affordable, by making it more accessible, by allowing you to do it in a way that's comfortable, by matching with a therapist that fits your needs and being able to change if necessary. You can do it camera off. So if you're not feeling like, you want to show your face, you don't have to. I just think this is a way, look, if you're in crisis, therapy can help, but therapy can help you avoid being in crisis. It can also help you just unlock your potential by helping you work through the things that might hold you back that you're not even familiar with. You go to the gym or you eat healthy because you got to take care of your body, got to take care of your mind as well. So therapy is a great way to do it. And you can do it with BetterHelp. Go to betterhelp.com/vision today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/vision. Clive, is that enough of that?
Indeed.
No. Okay. Good pregnant pause there. Nicely done. Okay. Yeah. Well, let's get to Emile Smith Rowe. It's interesting. Emile Smith Rowe is a player that I feel like universally everybody is rooting for. I don't think I've ever met any Arsenal fan who's not like, I don't like Emile Smith Rowe. I don't want him to succeed. To be fair, Arsenal fans want every Arsenal player to succeed. But you know what I mean? There are some that people like, they don't like. Universally, universally everyone seems to really like and want Smith Rowe to succeed. But as you said on a recent pod, it might have been we did a 3 big questions for patrons on Friday, mostly around Odegaard's form, around the eight's role there, about the attack, a couple other things. But I think you said, it's 500 days basically since, Smith Rowe has been the Smith Rowe that we remember. This was a big chance for him. I mean, there's been criticism of Mikel that he just hasn't given Smith Rowe a chance. That he's let other players come in who haven't maybe done the job, and he hasn't given Smith Rowe a chance. Well, he is clearly trying to give him his moment. He's using him more now than he has recently, and he gave him a start here. And I'd like to say that it was a stepping stone to bigger things from Emile, but I'm not convinced he grabbed the opportunity with both hands. No one was bad in this game because we were so dominant, but I don't think he necessarily made the statement that you'd like to be able to make to continue to get chances. What did you think? Because it wouldn't surprise me if he started again against West Ham, which again would be another step up the ladder to showing he can be fit, showing he can play every 3 days. These are things he needs to prove, but I'm not convinced he grabbed this opportunity with both hands. What about you?
Again, it's back to the memories we used to have. So again, what I'm trying to wipe last season from my mind is I want to allow this team to evolve and see different things, allow us to be more stable. It's the same with football players, right? You need to almost wipe the memory as they develop into a position. I was talking in the pub yesterday with, I think Jacob was there as well. I sort of said to him, I said, look, if there's 3 of us there, I goes, what do you think his best position is? And all 3 of us may have a different answer. Right, so straight away you have a debate. You have a debate. What's his best position? And then you look at the team, how it's evolved. So where does he fit in this team? Is he in the interior? Is he in the exterior? And then you have to allow him time to define that role in his own image. So you put that all together. Plus, he's been injured for a year. Well, how can we expect him to be what he used to be when we were a younger team? When we had less expectations on us, we were 8th, and he pulled us up by our bootstraps with Saka when we were 8th. And he scored like 10 goals in a season, whatever it was. And a lot of those goals were one-touch finishes, arriving in the box. He's an unbelievable finisher, really smart and clever in his arrival. And we were a different team, different standards. We're talking about the very best standards. So not only has he been missing, but the team has evolved upwards, and he has to find his role in that group. Now, I watched Saliba at Chelsea the other week, and he'd obviously had a bit of a rest over the international break of his injury. And I felt he looked a little bit sluggish for 2 weeks out. He still was brilliant, but he looked a little bit sluggish on the recovery runs. Just things that we would notice as Arsenal close watchers. That's just with 2 weeks with little reduced training. Smith Rowe's had 500 days away from the limelight. And I'm trying to be patient. How can we expect him to be that bombastic, charging runner at top speed until, one, he feels really confident in his body, and two, he really finds his role in the team? I think I've been reading. I read somewhere, maybe I dreamt it, but I read a headline that he's really made a step in training, and he's now, that's what gave him his chance the other week, and now he's got his chance yesterday, and I think he'll play at West Ham. Back to what Arteta values, what you do in training is really important. That's why he values Eddie so much. And so Smith Rowe may have had a penny drop. He's recognised something, and he's starting to let his talent go. That's what this is all about. Let your talent go. It's not about your talent. It's about you letting it go and applying yourself in the game. We all know he's talented enough, and I think that's why a lot of people love him. And again, a player that I'm trying to be patient with, Elliot. 500 odd days between starts is a long, long time, and so we have to give him well into next year to see what's in that body, and we will know. By the end of the season, we'll know where he is exactly. And by the way we look at football now as football fans, the game is so transient, news is so transient. Eddie was jogging around in Seville and people weren't having him. And 3 days later, he's a hero, got a hat-trick and looked absolutely super sharp. Smith Rowe could go to West Ham on Wednesday, stick 2 in the back of their net. We've got a new player. Really that quickly. We've got a new player, and he's putting pressure on somebody else for their role. So he just needs to be in the room, working at it, be in the room to allow yourself a chance to impact this first 13, 14. That's where he needs to get to in the next phase of his career.
Well said. Yeah, I don't have anything to add. I just what I do hope is that we don't have sort of sacred cows in the squad. You know what I mean? Because we're trying to get to a level where we can't afford that. And what I mean is that if players don't get to the level that we expect them to get to, or we think they might not get there, patience is a virtue, but excess patience is not, because football waits for no club. You know what I mean? We are going to have to make hard decisions along the way. There are players that are not going to come along on this journey. I mean, like Sambi Lakanga is not coming along on this journey, right? Like Nuno Tavares are not coming along on this journey. There are some players that we care more about because they came up through our academy that we want to be more patient with, and we maybe believe in their talent because, to be fair, we have seen Emile Smith Rowe look very good, but in a very different type of Arsenal that played a very different type of way. So I get torn between the wanting to be patient and understanding the virtue of being patient, while also recognizing that we are going to have a measure of ruthlessness about how we give squad positions out and how we fill squad positions if we really are serious about going all the way to the very top of the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And when he arrived in the team, Martinelli was coming back from injury, and so he wasn't being overplayed. He arrived in the team as a left sider on the outside. Did really, really well. Shared that role with Martinelli. Sometimes dropped over to the 10 role. But now you look at the squad and you think, well, Trossard's arrived. Vieira's arrived since then. Havertz has arrived since then. Martinelli's turned into a a 200 grand a week superstar that runs out the wind, and so that debate's over, and everything's changed. Everything's changed, and while it's all been happening, he's been injured. And how frustrated he must feel, right? Because he was thinking, I was there. I was in the England squad. I was right there. So he has to rebuild that confidence. He has to rebuild himself. And so I'm holding my thoughts. You sort of done me yesterday in our IR. If I was on my own, I would never have done any stock falling. So you made me pick a couple. And I don't think anyone's a stock falling today. And I think our conversation was along the lines of keep working. The standards are rising. Stay in this room. Stay here. Eddie's a great example. Stay in this room. And the only way you can do that is by improving your output.
Well, but that's a great example, right? Like if you said, who are the players that started yesterday where there are questions around their role and questions around their contribution? Eddie Nketiah would be one of them. Emile Smith Rowe would be another. Kai Havertz would be another. Well, of that trio, I know the one of them that grabbed the opportunity with both hands and said, you still have questions about me? You know what? I'm not saying a hat trick against a bad side answers every question, but it goes a long way. You score a hat trick in the Premier League. There are, a lot of good players who've never done it. Eddie Nketiah has done it and did it quite brilliantly. So, and oh, by the way, like you can say, well, it's a crappy Sheffield United team. Well, guess what? Smith Rowe and Kai Havertz were playing against that same crappy Sheffield United team, and I think didn't quite get to sparkle in the way that you'd hope. I have to admit, Clive, I found it very, very interesting that Fabio Vieira took the penalty. And by the way, we are getting lots of penalties this year and this season. And all I can say is some of that might be luck, and that luck might run out. But there's something to be said about having all of the final third possession and getting the ball into the box as much as we do. And you're going to just have more penalties when you have the ball there more. But what did you think of that, Vieira taking the penalty there? Because, I mean, the clock end was already starting to sing 60 million down the drain. Kai Havertz scores again, and they didn't give it to him. But you made a point on the IR that I actually thought was really, really clever too, which is we don't want Kai Havertz to become some charity case. So give him the penalty to pluck him up again. Kind of, this isn't show friends, it's show business, and so if Havertz wants another goal, run around and open play and score one. I was surprised to see Vieira take it, but he scored it. That's all that matters.
Yeah, and he did. He's very comfortable with penalties, isn't he? He's got a superb technique, and
with the exception of MetLife Stadium, he's very comfortable.
I didn't see that one. Yeah, I didn't see that one. So you saw it live.
If you look up in the sky, you might see it.
Yeah, you saw it live. So you got that burned in your brain. I didn't see that one live. So yeah, my thoughts on this, maybe rolling into Havertz a little bit, similar to Smith Rowe. It's not a talent issue. It's an implementation of talent. And I spoke yesterday about him not being a flat track bully, but I almost wanted him to be one. And the stadium really wanted him to score. So the last kick of the game when he flashed that near post shot into the side netting, that goes in. That's the moment of the day. And even though I listened to the commentary today on Sky, and Izzy Christensen was doing the co-commentary. She's actually really good, actually, on the tactical side of things. And she noted that everyone in this stadium wants him to score. So we've gone from a situation where, and the club has been quite good on this, actually. We've gone from a situation where, oh my gosh, we're not sure about here, but it being a little bit sticky online, to actually we need to support this player, and the manager's asked for support and patience. And I feel in the ground that everybody is trying to support this player. Everyone wants this player to succeed. And I just feel he needs to do his part of the bargain now, because we're being cool. We're being really cool about this. And again, is that when I say he needs to do his part of the bargain, but actually in time, I want him to produce. I don't want it to sound like he needs to do it. No, I want him to
Well,
produce. Yeah,
I mean,
he does need to do it, but
yeah.
I want him to produce. I want him to find that finish. I want him to find that important moment where he can do something important in an important game. Because I want us to find players, Elliot. Our schedule is a worry. It's a worry. We have so many games.
Yep.
We need more contributors to this. And we're not sitting here like Spurs playing every 7 days and rocking up in shape with no injuries. We got our centre forward in the box level. He's in street clothes, and we got a centre mid. We got issues that are developing with injuries. We got our skipper potentially with an injury. Great spot by Andrew, by the way. Simply, we've been criticising his form. It's based potentially on injury, and that's why he didn't play yesterday. We need these players, Elliot. We need them to step up. The Vieiras, the Havertz, the Eddies, the Smith Rowes. And maybe that's why our eyes are more critical on them, because we know they're important to the whole season.
Well, and I think also, right, if you think about it, when you have a very, very good team that feels very settled in a lot of departments, you're naturally going to debate the players that aren't the piece that everyone agrees on, right? So I think for the most part, people would say Saka, Jesus, Martinelli across the front three in a big game. That's what you'd want out there. I think everybody would say White, Saliba, Gabriel, Zinchenko. Everyone wants Declan Rice out there. Those next two positions, I presume everybody wants Odegaard out there. So that's room for one. And what we don't know is, should it be Rice, Partey, and Odegaard? Should it be Rice, Jorginho, and Odegaard? Should it be Rice, Kai, and Odegaard? Should it be Rice, Smith Rowe, and Odegaard? Vieira? Like that last piece, that left 8 piece, that midfield dynamic, it's the last piece left in the group. I mean, set the goalkeeper side. There's obviously people that will still want to debate that. I think that debate's over, frankly. But I just feel, because that piece is the one, if I told you to name an Arsenal 11 that's going to go on and be our 11 for the rest of the season, and they'll all be fit to play, I don't know that if you ask 10 Arsenal fans, you'd get 10 same answers in that one. 10 of the 11 players, they'd all name the same 10. It's that 11th player, that left 8 position, that third midfielder, that I think there'd be a lot of disagreement on. And so that's why a lot of the analysis winds up centering on that, because we want someone to step up and make that role theirs. And we were kind of hoping it'd be Kai, because that's why we bought him.
Yeah, and it still could be, right? And we have injuries that are maybe making us not see so clearly, because after Charity Shield, I was pretty clear what our first 11 looked like. It looked really, really good. And since then, one of those players got cruciate, and so we've completely lost that, right? So So Partey and Rice and Bay played together. I think they had 15 minutes since, which was against Man City towards the end of the game. And that is the point. That is a discussion. I know, Elliot, you're so focused on starting 11s, and you're not the only one, by the way. Well, when we see a start 11, it affects us all, right? But the Man City game is about the finishing 11 as well. The Chelsea game, how we held out in Seville, having the quality on the pitch to hold that result. Tomiyasu's role in these games have been outstanding. So
scored a goal, by the way. Congrats to him. I think that's his first goal for Arsenal, isn't
it? Exactly. It was on his 50th appearance, and so it's again. I come back to it. Starters and finishers, having the players to finish these games. Some of Jorginho's best games have been closing out results. I think that's a great role for him. I think he's really good at it. I know it didn't happen against Spurs, or maybe a bit cold, but it's having these abilities to make sure when we have to make changes, to manage the load on players. That is one of my biggest worries at the moment. When I look at our season, I just don't see any days off. I don't see any days off. It was quite interesting, actually. Yeah, I was in the stadium yesterday. Obviously, we did our recording afterwards, and I'm normally out there when I do recording quite quickly, but it was a little bit longer. I just sort of went back, had a little look inside, and I've never seen it, and I knew where I looked on the pitch, and we were doing a full training session on the pitch after the game. So
It's crazy.
normally you see
What does
players
that say
doing.
about Sheffield United?
Well,
We needed some workouts here.
yeah, when what you do when you don't play, you do what they call penalty box runs, right? So you run between the penalty boxes, and you do repeat sprints and to get your fitness in, and then you have a day off for the rest of the players the next day, right? So, but we had the mannequins out, we were doing pass and follow moves, and we were doing full passing moves, and so all the players didn't play the full 90 were on the pitch, and the subs did come on, and I'm thinking, crikey, this is what they got to do to keep their levels high. Back to Smith Rowe again. We have 400 days off, whatever it is. It's going to be hard. Do you know what I mean? This is what we have to do to keep our levels, to keep us crisp, to make sure our passes go to feet, to make sure those inches really matter. These are details that we don't always see, the effort they have to put in. And I just thought it was interesting. I've never seen that before in a home game. Never seen them put the mannequins out on the pitch and do a full session like that. It was really interesting.
Yeah, that is. I didn't know that either. So a couple other things real quick. We haven't mentioned Kivior. I mean, I think this sort of goes back to what I said at the beginning of the game, beginning of the pod. I think when William Saliba's back there, whoever's standing next to him is going to feel pretty confident. Saliba for me was, aside from Eddie, obviously the man of the match. Just absolutely dominates his areas with his physicality and his quality. But Kivior still had to go out there, be on the pitch, be part of the game. He did so little, Clive, that sticks out in my mind. But last season fell apart because when we needed to call on central defenders, they weren't there. We feel a lot more solid. Tomiyasu came on and scored a goal. Kivior came on. We were able to get Ben White some rest. I mean, talk about a good day at the office. Martinelli gets off early. Saka gets off early. Ben White gets, an early exit from the game. I mean, we just have to be feeling really good about how we managed our way through the game. Any thoughts on Kivior's performance, though?
I like the player a lot. I liked him from the first time I see him, from the first time we scouted him. I like him. I think he's a young defender who's got huge potential. Once he gets more aggressive when he needs to, which he does, by the way, when he needs to, that's coming to him more naturally. I think his reading is smart. I think his ball play is just right up there. And his speed is good. If he can get more, what I call hunting speed, aggressive speed, I think that will come in time as he gets more experience. I do like him. Listening to Arteta, though, I think this is we have a problem pending in our squad. And I think he mentioned in the press conference, again, I'm not sure if I dreamt it, but I'm sure I didn't, that we have 7 players in our back line. And that's one too short for him, right? So, and obviously we got an injury there. So come January, I believe we may lose Tomiyasu to the Asian Cup for a couple of weeks, good to 2-3 weeks. So we got a problem there. So although we are looking at Ivan Tonys of this world, the manager could be looking and saying, I have to make sure these players stay fit. I have to rotate them. I can't afford to lose them when we turn the corner in January. I haven't got enough players to rotate. I've got to make sure I watch the load of these players. Potentially, will we see a player come into that back line to make sure we can keep the William Salibas and the Gabriels on the pitch for when it counts in March, April and May. And so that could be something, may not be as exciting for us, looking and wanting a new striker or a winger. By the way, Pedro Neto popped his hamstring yesterday, so another player struggling with injury, and he had to be stretchered off. So that doesn't look like a grade 1 to me. That looks pretty serious, a shame for him. And so we want these exciting signings, but when it comes down to it, the risk is in back end of our pitch. That's where we have a shortage. And so it'd be interesting to see what we do in that period when January comes.
Felt a little bit too like this was Mikel getting the squad positioned for that Newcastle game. Bit of rotation in this game. Got some players off early. We play West Ham in the League Cup midweek, but it's a trip to Newcastle next weekend, and they will be down a few players, which doesn't hurt. How do you think he approaches the West Ham game? I think, as you know, I would be totally fine with us playing literally whoever he wants to put out there. We know how Mikel is. He's not going to throw away a game. But I've always thought it's weird that we rate all these players in our squad, but if we heavily rotate, then there's some suggestion that we're throwing the cup. Like you're not throwing away the cup playing these other very good players you have in your squad. I'd expect to see it heavily rotated. There will probably be a few more key first choice type players in it than I'd maybe want with Newcastle at the weekend. But how do you think he'll approach it?
I like to see a couple of people. I wouldn't mind seeing Declan Rice stay at home, if I'm honest with you. I think England will play him all the time because that's what they do. He always gives you the impression that he can play every minute of every game. But we must not abuse that player. So I wouldn't mind seeing him stay at home and see others take that position. And the rest will be all about minutes, really. And we may not see everybody we know start, but we may see them come on towards the end of the game. And that's the way Arteta does it. Saka may not start, but I think he'll finish the game. And that may be the way we'll approach it. So everyone gets their time. So everyone gets their time out on the next day, and then they can prepare for Newcastle in the right way. So it's about balancing the load in the squad. So I think he'll do that. I think Newcastle, again, it's a tough opposition for us, but they are also in Europe. I think they travel to Dortmund after us, Elliot, which is a
That's correct,
really,
and it's going to be a must-win for them, I think,
it's a
or a
really
must-get
important game.
something from the game.
So we will be their trap
And
game potentially, right?
Do they play? I want to say they play like United in the Cup or something.
Yeah, I think they got
right?
United midweek in the League Cup, and so they got a big week, right? So and it's new for them as well, right? And they got players returning from injury, players dropping out of injury, much like we have. Funny that the top teams have got the similar problems, and losing players
They
at
also have
critical
a player
times.
going away for gambling, so
Yeah,
we don't
that's
have that,
happened as well, and so they may get. Let's not go there. They may get in on loan because that opens up a whole new can of worms. But yeah, I think we might be going there at a good time, because of Sheffield, because it wasn't too taxing for us, and Wednesday will take care of itself from a load perspective. We can mix and match. So we then actually go to Newcastle against a team with similar pressures, probably a smaller squad, and we can go there and execute. And I really got a good feeling for us. And I couldn't help but watch yesterday's game and think about Newcastle. I don't know. I don't think I was the only one. It's almost like we were looking ahead to the week.
Yep.
And I think Arteta looked back. We looked back. He mentioned about we had City, we had Chelsea, we had Seville. Really hard games. Really hard games. We managed to get 2 wins to draw out of that. And now we come into this next set of games and we're well positioned. Right? Okay, injury is the only thing which is a cloud, right? So if we had Jesus and Partey, we'd be sitting back with a cigarette on, right? So, but yeah, it is what it is. We have to just face it what we have. And we're very fortunate that the players that are stepping in at the moment have done a good job.
Yeah. Well, I guess just in summary, a very weird occasion, a Premier League game that had no sense of jeopardy. And so just the atmosphere and the experience of it was very strange. It was very fun. It was very joyful. But like you couldn't even really get the songs going. You couldn't really get the atmosphere going because the game had so little jeopardy. It was tremendously enjoyable to see, obviously. And you always get to see some things, I think, when you're there that you can't see on the TV cameras. So I enjoy that aspect of it. Enjoy seeing the people, that aspect of it. And you have to be a very good team to blow a Premier League team away like that, though. You do. I don't care how bad they are. You have to make them look bad, and we made them look very bad. And that's job done. And tonight you get the Manchester Derby, and you know what I love about it, Clive? Just we get ready to sign off here is I find this game a very enjoyable one to watch because if United get something, then it's brilliant because City have dropped points. But if United get hammered, that's brilliant too because United are getting hammered, and that's fun for me to see. So it's like this is one of those fixtures that I really enjoy because the outcome is either good for us in the table or just good for us from a Schadenfreude perspective because I always like seeing United get embarrassed.
Yeah, it's really nice when you win. You can sit back and watch everybody else do their thing, right? And you can't lose, right? So it's just about what we do, and it's all about points accumulation at this point in time, and also just not losing people. The build up to Seville, we lose Partey, and during the game we lose Jesus. I mean, man, we don't want to be losing people in these games. We just need to get out of the pitch, get out of Dodge, get out of there with all our bodies intact, right? And then that's what we need to do so we can continue this. And it's very difficult sometimes. It's really frustrating to watch these players drop out. But yeah, Man United, Man City, it's a big day for Manchester United people with Bobby Charlton passing. That's going to be a big day, emotional day in the stadium. You know, one of the greatest English player of our our history, in my opinion. A truly great man, and it's going to be a big day for them. So they're going to put on a big performance for them. And so, yeah, it's going to be an interesting watch. But Man City, they're not going anywhere, win or lose. They're not going anywhere, are they? They know the course. They know the course. We've learned a little bit about the course, and I think part of what we're seeing is us adapting to what the course really is. And we just need to keep our heads on as we build this group towards the Christmas period.
Okay, let's leave it there. I think that's enough. Obviously, you can tell from my voice I'm struggling a bit. I've got the flight tomorrow. I'm going to watch the derby somewhere tonight, and then hopefully make it a little bit of a lighter, shorter night tonight. Get up early and fly home, where I can try to live a slightly different lifestyle
Yes,
and go trick or
son.
treating in the freezing Minnesota weather with two little girls dressed up as whatever silly things we're going to pick this season. So should be nice. Always great to be over here. Great to see everybody. Clive, obviously a dear friend. Love you. It was great to see you, and hope to do it again soon.
Good to see you, man. Good to see Tim as well last night, and James, Andrews, so many people, and it's really nice to meet you all, and thanks for all the support that we get. Really appreciate it.
Well said. My name's Elliot Smith, mentoring and Gunner. Clive's on Twitter, Clive PFC. We love you, and we will talk to you after Arsenal 10, West Ham 0.